very welcome back. Now, of all of the challenges that come with getting older, making new friends is one of the most profound. As we advance in our careers, relationships and lives, most of us tend to find that building new friendships becomes harder and harder.
But now that socialising is probably at the bottom of your list of priorities, you might be wondering how you'd even start to make friends as an adult. Well, psychologist Allison Keating joins us now with some helpful advice from her book, The Secret Lives of Adults. You're very welcome, Allison.
Hi, how are you?
And this is a funny subject, which has kept us talking for the last few minutes. So obviously it's really engaging. It's kind of fascinating, isn't it? We look at our children when we arrive into a restaurant or into a hotel or anywhere, and they have made friends, best friends, within about 2 minutes.
Not a bother.
Yeah.
As an adult, it's not quite so straightforward, is it?
It really isn't. And it is really interesting because most of this trickles back to how you made friends as children.
All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously so many factors go into it, like your personality. Are you shy? Are you outgoing? You know, like that kid who makes, one of mine absolutely makes friends. 2 seconds, we're best friends.
Yeah.
But then you might have another child who's shyer, and they might just tiptoe around the back and wait till the other person makes the first move. So even in childhood, you know, your characteristics, your personality is there. And that can trickle through. And what happens is, in school, I mean, you can remember the first day you came home from school and said, I made a friend.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a great feeling. And seemingly we make friends up until about the age of 25. And then they start to trickle off.
Really?
And
Wow.
you lose 2 friends when you fall in love. You lose 2 friends when you move house. So if you don't replenish those friendships, you naturally do lose friends because you move out of situations like school or college, or you move work. You do need to actively go out there and find friends, which is hard because we're all very time poor.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you need to maintain those connections as
Yes.
well, if you can and you want to.
Yeah. But what's really kind of good about this is that, I mean, how many friends do you think you actually need to kind of be happy?
Real friends.
Yes, real friends.
3.
Yeah.
Is it 3?
3 to 5.
Right,
If you
okay.
have 3...
Because you can manage that amount, you see, you know, a smaller
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got 25 friends, or you're looking at
Yeah.
the list of friends that you've got on your Facebook, you're like, how am I ever going to keep in touch with all these people?
Of course, yeah.
And so many of us are in different WhatsApp groups. So, I mean, a lot of your time, you know, you're replying back to loads of people. But when do you actually make that, you know, say, listen, not, you know, when are we going to meet up, and you're looking through your diary and you say, I'll see you in 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, you do have to go and meet your friends, no matter how amazing technology is, and it is, in keeping contact. If you're not actually meeting up face-to-face,
It's not good
creating new memories, new experiences, the friendship will actually whittle out.
Of course, there are different grades of friends as well. There's the friends in work that you can
course.
see every day. Then there's the friend, you know, the friends you haven't seen since you were kids. Then the
Yeah.
friends from the old job that you. So there are various kind of stages, I suppose. I'm always very jealous, though, like you mentioned, of like kids meeting each other for the first time and going, "You're my friend now, and that's it, and we're just friends."
It's
How do you
so
do
easy.
it as an adult then? If you find yourself, well, I don't even have 3 friends. What do you do then?
So, it sounds somewhat counterintuitive, but if you actually go back and look to the friends that you used to have, is there anyone that you could actually connect with? And sometimes I think men are actually really good at this, that they can make that connection. Say you haven't seen someone in ages and you say, listen, just been thinking about you recently, what are you doing? You know, do you want to meet up? They're either going to say yes or no. You know, I mean, this is in a very normal way. You can't all of a sudden land on someone's doorstep and say, hello, will you be my friend?
Yeah.
The door will be closed
Are you coming
in your
out to
face.
play?
Yeah. It just won't work. But going back and looking at your contacts, seeing if there's people you would like to reconnect with is a good starting place.
Okay, right. So, and that's an easy win, I suppose.
It's an easy win.
I haven't seen you in ages.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you also referenced the How to Win Friends and Influence People, Alison, in your own book.
Yeah.
Being interested in other people and having that ability to listen.
Yeah.
So important.
It's a skill we don't have. Lots of people think they're great listeners, but it's a skill we never actually learned. Most people are just waiting to jump in with their own next sentence. So, I mean, the idea is be interested rather than interesting. And that's what creates that connection with the friendship, is that you are interested in the other person. And people do like to talk about themselves. I do think that it needs to go both ways. But, you know, being a good conversationalist, being good-humoured, all these very straightforward things do lead to finding it easier to make connections with friends.
What about being vulnerable is your third point. What do you mean by that now, Alison?
So the way we go from, say, like an acquaintance to a friend is that we share something about ourselves that we wouldn't necessarily tell the postman.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
There's no hard and fast rules. Like when you're saying, you know, how do you get to that kind of instant friendship? Sometimes it's possible, but sometimes it's not. And that's where you have to take a risk. But rather than it being a bit TMI, you have to just kind of gauge. So if you're sharing something and the person's listening and then all of a sudden they share something back, what's happened is now it's reciprocal. Now you actually feel a bit safer. There's a little bit of trust there. If you're sharing something about yourself and they're looking at you and they're moving backwards, then stop.
This is probably not going to be a friendship. Yeah.
It's not going to be a friendship.
Yeah.
You know, so it's friendship is a social skill. It's a skill we can actually learn. Every transaction you have with a person is a new opportunity to make a friend. And what's really important, and that's what I really took from the book, like if we look at, say, I look at all the relationships, right? You are still going to be, you know, you're going to have if you have your children, if you have, you know, your romantic relationship, these are all relationships that you're bound into. You choose friendship.
Yeah, and you got to work on it.
It's the only one you choose.
You do mention though as well that you can embrace awkwardness.
Yes.
That's part of friendship as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in line with the vulnerability. You know, to take that step from acquaintance to friendship, it's about getting that level of actually getting to know each other. And that's where the vulnerability comes in. With the awkwardness, again, if we take it back to kids are good at actually kind of going through that awkward stage. Or some might say, actually, I don't want to be friends with you. They're just straight out.
They're so straight.
They're straight out. I don't like you. You know, now that's not going to work, obviously,
as an adult.
But again, working with silence and awkward conversations or awkwardness, you could actually just say, oh, I don't actually know what I wanted to say, or make a bit of a joke of it. We just have to get better at putting ourselves in riskier situations where you're trying to make a friend, recognizing that it's not always going to go perfect. You will make mistakes. Sometimes own up to it, have a laugh and say, oh my God, I cannot remember what I was actually trying to say there.
Right. Okay, so just be at peace with it, or
it's an honesty,
accept
isn't it?
Yeah.
And often you'll get the cues from people when they actually want to develop a friendship, won't they? So you might have given them some piece of information and they might follow up with a helpful link later on, or they'll have listened, as you say, and brought back something to the conversation.
But what's so important about that, and you're so right, is that, again, when we take it back to how you've been through your whole life, children who've been popular, they don't see the negative cues.
Really?
They might interpret it as if someone says something, say, oh, they're having a bad day.
Okay.
Whereas a child who has been rejected, or an adolescent, and has kind of felt a little bit more on the outside, they will interpret that. They have a high rejection sensitivity. So they're like, why did they say that? What did they mean? They don't like me. And they're more inclined to not engage in the friendship, walk away, or be a little bit aggressive, or just say, actually, this is not going to work. Whereas the popular kid, as an adult, will be like, they were just having an off day, and not take it personally.
All goes back to your childhood.
It's fascinating.
It is. It's amazing. Yeah. I suppose get
Brilliant.
off your phone as well and connect with people, and try and spend more time looking at people and making eye-to-eye contact. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Let the world in.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alison.
Thanks a million.
Cheers, Allison.